story is called Twerkapalooza 2 Judgment Day.
Oh no. What happened to Twerkapalooza 1?
Well, give me a second, man. Goddamn.
You didn't even have to write it in this time.
It was a sunny ass, beautiful ass day in New Jeremy City, City of Jeremys. It was slightly cloudy with a gentle breeze and a chance of penetration.
Damn it.
Despite being named Twerkapalooza 2, this was the first annual Twerkapalooza. The Judgment Day subtitle was aptly described, since booties were being judged hard. So was decreed by King Jeremy Jeremington the 69th.
God damn it.
Well, everyone assumed that's what he meant. His last act as a physical entity was to slam down his scepter and shout, "Make it clap with no hands," in a sweet MC Ride voice.
Oh my god.
He then vanished in a cloud of proto-meth. Scholars debated for weeks what he meant by this, and decided that they would hold a twerking competition in King Jeremington the 69th's honor. As a side note, the king had 47 illegitimate children, who all attempted to claim the throne. In order to settle the rightful heir, they held a dance marathon. The winner would be the new king or queen. At the end of the dance competition, the winner and all of the competitors were immediately assassinated. The competition was being held in a local brewery/steakhouse/brothel called Henry's Pub. The pub was colloquially known as the Snake Pit on account of the rampant glory hole usage in the bathrooms. The Snake Pit's head bartender/bouncer/steak chef was a frogman named Wesley Froglegs. This name was in fact very misleading. While he was a frogman, he did not have frog legs. He just had some janky clanky robot legs.
Oh.
More impressive than his legs were his sweet frog biceps.
No.
Some say he could bring any man or woman to full completion with a single flex. It soon became a problem when he became addicted to flexing in the mirror and nutting everywhere. That's actually how he lost his original frog legs. Dude came so hard, his leg shot off. Wesley was an adventurer in his heyday, traveling the wastes looking for the best recipes for beef and drinks. He also enjoyed fine craft beers, craft weapons, and craft wenches. This line. Okay. His favorite activities were, quote... Let me try that again. His favorite activities were, quote, mixing drinks. Fuck. Right. His favorite activities were, quote, mixing drinks and eating steaks.
God damn it.
The rich tapestry of his exploits run for miles and miles, and the lube-covered tapestry of his sexploits run for light years. But today's tale is not one from his heyday. Today's tale is from, well, today, on Twerkapalooza 2 Judgment Day. Early in the day, the government workers were setting up the stage and decorations for the competition. Neon lights, streamers, and confetti cannons were all set up across the snake pit. Also set up were the OSHA-regulated crash mats on account of the twerkpocalypse of 2369, when several gnomes and goblins were splattered against the walls by the sonic booms created by the clapping of thick, huge asses. All that was left of these brave souls were their rock-hard boners. While the contestants were getting ready in the back room, Wesley was up front, checking in a shipment of booze and local moonshine. While his focus was taken away from the bar, there was a sudden magical break-in. Wesley sensed the intrusion since the brewery/steakhouse/brothel is protected by a detect magic barrier. He quickly spin-kicked a crate of moonshine through the saloon doors, sending the crate directly to the bar and even making the bottles take themselves out and neatly sort themselves on the shelves behind the bar.
Damn.
It was the third time he did that within the past 10 minutes. Wesley quickly hopped through the bar, drop-kicked the door to the, quote, poon room, and flipped inside. Inside, the competitors were tied up and being loaded into a magical truck that crashed through the back. Wesley croaked at the masked human trafficking wizards and said, "Stop right there, you tadpole-dicked asshole, before I magically prolapse your assholes." "As if you could stop us. We all have plus 15 magic resistance butt plugs in," replied one of the kidnappers. "Great job, Dick Sucksby. You told them our secret magic accessories," shouted another bandit. "Don't worry, his spells will have no effect." Dick Sucksby quick replied back before he was cut off with a swift castration. Wesley then Pele kicked the dude's dick through his own head, killing him instantly.
Damn.
His body then turned into magical anal beads to be used by 3,000-year-old ogres and trolls for the rest of eternity.
What the fuck?
Wesley then proceeded to fuck up the rest of the human trafficking wizards, since you don't need magic to curb stomp a dude's dick into dust and then make him snort it. Suddenly, he heard a cackle and was quickly knocked out. When he came to, he was tied up to a chair facing a mirror. The room around him was a warping purple vortex. He heard that same cackle, and a wolfman wizard spun out from behind a mirror. "I finally caught you, Wesley Froglegs. Do you remember me? I am the evil archmage, Dr. Wally Wolfhart, MD," said the wolfman wizard. Nah, not really ringing a bell," replied Wesley. "What? We battled for an entire decade straight. We were locked in mortal combat for 10 whole years. I kidnapped the love of your life. You don't even remember me?" defeatedly exclaimed Dr. Wolfhart. "I think you got me mixed up with someone else. The only things I love are dick sucks, quick fucks, and mixology, and adventuring, and fighting, and treasure hunting, and mainly bartending," quipped Wesley. "Enough of this. This ends now," interjected Wolfhart rudely at that. He continued, "Do you remember how you defeated me after our 10-year battle?" "I don't even remember you at all, honestly," answered Wesley. "Silence!" shouted Wally Wolfhart. "You defeated me using your most destructive technique, your bicep flex of insta-complosion. You made me orgasm for 5 years after the battle ended. It was horrible. Imagine coming at your son's graduation from Evil Wizard University. Imagine it." "I love coming," stated Wesley, very matter-of-factly. "Whatever, fool. I have brought you here to kill you by making you come endlessly. Face the mirror, and I will make you flex," Wally replied, following with a maniacal laugh. He then proceeded to place 150-pound dumbbells in Wesley's hands. Wesley could never refuse some quick pumpage on his nutcrackers. Doing so caused him to flex. As he did, Wally howled and cackled, as he was a wolfman and, hey, that was the dude's thing. He learned it at EWU. He also disappeared from out of the pocket dimension. Unbeknownst to Wally, however, was Wesley's ace in the hole, literally. Before he was knocked out, he quickly snuck one of the anti-magic butt plugs into his robotic asshole. Doing so protected him from the effects of his own biceps. After a while, Wally returned to the pocket dimension to check on Wesley's demise, but was caught in orgasmic horror when he discovered Wesley still alive and still flexing. Upon seeing the flexing, Dr. Wally Wolfman, Evil Wizard MD, was instantly zoinked out of his goddamn mind from the non-stop nutting. "No! Anything but this! How have you survived your own super hot flexing?" Wally cried out in agony. "But using one of your own enchanted butt plugs in my mechanical anus," cheekily replied Wesley. Thanks to the sick gains from his bicep curls, Wesley was able to flex his way out of his steely shackles. He then performed a sweet windmill and teleported out of the pocket dimension. Dr. Wally Wolfhart, Evil Wizard MD, was never heard from again. Scholars maintain that he is still coming to this day. When Wesley returned to his regular dimension, he was instantly girl banged by all the huge bootied contestants. Twerkapalooza 2 Judgment Day went on without a hitch. Many drinks were had, and Wesley's face was in so much ass he got double pink eye the next morning. Everyone excitedly looked forward to Twerkapalooza 2 Judgment Day 2. Finn.
Oh, goodness. I don't know if I could compete with that.
Nah, you got it.
I love the human trafficking reference.
It's on theme of just adding wizard after a standard job title.
Great. Oh. My story is called Big Trouble in Little Philadelphia.
Oh shit.
Chapter 1, Fuck Me Like a Hurricane. The Scuzzbucket Bar was situated in the bad part of the town of Philadelphia, which is honestly kind of a misnomer because every part of Philadelphia is the bad part of town. Like, this place was fucked. The shit-lined streets were paved with dried blood from the 6,900 murders that took place there a day, and Philadelphia only had a population of 200 people. That's how fucking bad the citizens of this town are. What's that? How is it possible there's so many murders every day with such a small population, you ask? Fuck you. That's how. I'm telling a story here. You ever heard of an unreliable narrator? Well, that's not me. Not a filthy fucking liar. The buildings were in complete shambles. To most people, and even monsters, these buildings were in such disarray that they wouldn't even dream to live there. They'd even sleep on the shit-lined streets instead of those buildings. But to the people that lived here, it was heaven. Apocalypse chic, they called it. It was badass, and residents of this town used their houses as a form of social status. The more broken down the house, the higher they were up on the totem pole. One guy even lived in a house where his ceiling was a wall that had fallen over and been caught by the wall opposite it, and his only furniture was a bathtub so caked in grime you'd get a staph infection just looking at it. Anyways, back to the Scuzzbucket Bar. This was arguably the most lavish building in all of Philadelphia. If by lavish you mean decorated with skin lamps and taxidermied humans. It was also the only bar in Philadelphia. Actually, it was the only business. You see, this bar was owned by the Scuzz Boys, and they didn't take too kindly to people stepping on their turf.
Oh,
So
the Scuzz Boys are back.
Yeah. So anybody that tried to start a business in this place was quickly killed. And by quickly, I mean they were slowly tortured and brutalized over the course of the next month until their bodies finally gave out, granting them the sweet release of death. The doors of the Scuzz Bucket flew open, almost flying off their hinges. Bright light shined into the bar, and a figure cast a long shadow on the floor. Normally this would be a good way to draw attention to yourself, but since everybody in this town is a fucking badass, that's just how they open doors. A large man walked into the bar. He had long metalhead hair, pecs so big they could ballroom dance, and abs that you could grate cheese on. He had tattered shorts that had been washed many times before, by the blood of his enemies.
Oh, fuck.
They stopped just short of his knees. The skin on his legs from the knee down was dark green and scaly, ending in mega sweet dinosaur feet with claws so sharp they could cut through a diamondillo's ball sack. He walked across the bar to the counter, the weight of his footsteps causing the floorboards to creak so loud it sounded like your grandmother having an orgasm. Oh. The Drinkmancer looked at him through squinted eyes. What'll it be? I'll have a bloody fuck. Large, said the said the
Bloody
man,
fuck.
which, by the way, is period blood and semen mixed together with seltzer water.
Oh no.
Oh, I told you I made two of the grossest jokes I've ever made right next to each other. That'll be 50 dinkles, croaked the drinkmancer. Sliding over 150 dinkles, the large man added, "I'd also like some information." The drinkmancer cracked a half smile as he pocketed the money. "What'll it be?" "Would you happen to know anything about a bloke named Vance Explosion?"
Oh
The,
shit.
the bar went silent. The drinkmancer looked away and muttered something inaudibly as he fixed the drink. The sound of hydraulics whirred from a dark corner of the room. Footsteps stomped across the floorboard and a large cyborg stepped out of the shadows. "What do you need with Vance Explosion, meat?" "Vance Explosion killed my entire family and turned my life upside down," the man replied. "Our master has done that to countless flesh bags over the years. Who the fuck do you think you are?" snarled the cyborg. "You see, west of Philadelphia, I was born and raised. In the scorching sandpit was where I spent most of my day." "We don't we don't need your fucking life story. What is your name?" boomed the cyborg. "Oh, I'm Tyrannosaurus Tix," said Tyrannosaurus Tex. The bar patrons murmured to each other. "I heard his dad fucked a dinosaur." "Oh yeah, I heard he killed his parents and ate them." "I heard he can kick a man in half with one kick from those ultra sweet dinosaur legs." "Yeah, I heard he fucked this guy's wife, and when the guy caught them, he fucked him too." The two stared at each other. "Get 'em, boys," Carmichael Max yelled at the group of medium hard-looking guys behind them. The group stood up and started toward Tyrannosaurus Tex. Quickly, he grabbed the now finished bloody fuck from the bar counter and threw it across the room, covering all the gang members in the disgusting mixture. They immediately started throwing up everything they'd ever eaten in their entire lives all over the ground. Stuff that had been digested and pooped out years ago was even coming back up. They were heaving so hard that the shit in their intestines was being sent back up into their stomachs and being forcibly sent all over the floor. One guy's ass even got sucked up through his butthole and tore through his head as it came up his esophagus.
What the fuck?
It was so metal, a band made a song about it called Ass to Mouth. Another guy threw up his brain from outside his head. It's a weird sentence. Yet Yet another guy threw up his legs somehow and was cursed to live out the rest of his life with his body curled into an impossible four-dimensional shape, kind of like a Klein bottle, with his legs protruding out of his mouth.
Oh,
These,
fuck.
these poor motherfuckers were literally dying from how hard they were throwing up. "I'm here for Vance Explosion. Not you, not anybody else. Now tell me where he is." Carmichael Max cracked a half smile. "If you want to find Vance Explosion, you'll have to go through us." As Carmichael Max said this, they turned into a fighter jet and blasted towards Tyrannosaurus Tex. The force of the explosion from the engines blew the entire bar behind him and everybody in it away into orbit around Earth 2. Tyrannosaurus Tex was ready for this and caught Carmichael Max by the nose of the jet. He dug the heels of his cool dinosaur feet into the floor, sliding backwards, digging up the floorboards as they went. Tyrannosaurus Tex pushed the nose of the jet into the ground, and the impact sent him flying. What was left of the rest of the bar was incinerated along with everybody inside except for one guy who slowly and painfully burned to death, his screams echoing through Philadelphia.
Damn, there goes Philadelphia's only business.
Carmichael Max turned back into a robot and flipped, trying to do one of those sweet Naruto kicks that Carmichael had been known for. Tyrannosaurus Tex grabbed their foot and swung Carmichael Max hard into the ground. As they tried to get up, Tyrannosaurus Tex ran up and drop kicked them right in the chest with his mega awesome dinosaur feet, sending Carmichael Max flying. Cut away. Mr. Breakfast jumped through the doorway into the kitchen to a group of children and their mother. "It's Mr. Breakfast!" they all yelled in unison. Now we can eat this week, cried one child with tears streaming down his face. Now, kids, you know what we have to do before we can eat, yelled Mr. Breakfast to the group. Sing the song, cheered the kids.
What is happening?
Mr. Breakfast, he lives in a shitty town, but he doesn't let it but he doesn't let it get him down. You're never gonna see him frown. Mr. Breakfast loves to feed everyone. He's always up with the sun, ready to have some fun. Mr. Breakfast. The wall of the kitchen was smashed open and debris crashed into everyone. Carmichael Max careened into Mr. Breakfast. And Mr. Breakfast and the kids, exploding them into a bloody mist, splattering the walls. Mr. Breakfast was dead, and now there was no good soul left in Philadelphia. All the kids in town were going to starve without Mr. Breakfast's generosity. Carmichael Max laughed as he picked himself up, pushing away the pieces of rubble and wiping off his body. There was a noticeable dent in their metallic chest. It looks like we're going to have to get serious. You're not as weak as we thought. Carmichael Max transformed into a supersonic rocket car and blasted towards Tyrannosaurus Tex. Tex braced for impact again. As he put his hands out to catch the vehicle, Carmichael Max quickly transformed back into a robot and slammed into Tex's stomach. Carmichael Max pushed Tex into a brick wall and crushed him. Tex coughed up a ton of blood as his ribs splintered and his spine snapped in half.
God damn.
Carmichael Max transformed again, this time into one of those garbage trucks that has an arm to pick up the trash bins, except instead of a compactor on the top, it had a maw of whirring metal teeth. They grabbed Tex's limp body from the ground and started slowly lowering him towards the crushing mouth of jagged teeth. How can you expect to fight Vance Explosion if you can't even make it through me? Sneered Carmichael Max. Tyrannosaurus Tex summoned the last bit of his strength and swung his body up to kick the arm. The razor-sharp nails on his feet kicked clean through the steel arm, sending it straight down into the crusher. Carmichael Max screeched out at the pain of crushing their own arm because as a robot they could still feel the arm even though it wasn't attached. Motor oil mixed with blood spurted out in every direction, covering buildings and bystanders. Tyrannosaurus Tex fell onto the crusher in a handstand with his hands on either side of the teeth. He pushed as hard as he could, slowing the teeth just barely. He bent his arms down and got ready to do a sweet jump into the air and escape danger just in the nick of time. Just then, Carmichael Max shook their body violently, causing Tex's hand to slip, sending his arm into the crusher. He cried out in horrible agony as his arm was turned into a pulp. Tex fell down into the mouth and was quickly pulled in. His body was crushed. The crunching of his bones filled the town. The sound was so horrifyingly loud that everyone around covered their ears but couldn't escape it. No screams filled the air anymore as Tex's head popped like a balloon after a 6-year-old's birthday party. Blood and gray matter splattered everywhere. Carmichael Max spit on what was left of Tex's body out of his poop chute. A bloody, mangled corpse lay on the ground. Carmichael Max transformed back into a cyborg, but now they were missing their left arm. They walked over to Tex's corpse and spit oil onto it. Filth, they muttered as they turned into a jet and rocketed away. Chapter 2. A Date with Destiny. Tyrannosaurus Tex opened his eyes. I'm not dead? He wondered aloud. Oh yeah, dude, you're super fucking dead, came a voice. A shadowy figure loomed over him. You should get up and see for yourself. A pale hand extended towards Tyrannosaurus Tex. Tex grabbed the hand and was shocked at how impossibly cold it was. As he stood up, he looked down at where he was just lying. He saw a bloody pulp of what used to be a man. What used to be him. That's me? Yeah, bud, sorry. You got super fucking crushed into oblivion. I'm surprised you don't remember it considering it like just happened, you know? The figure took off its hood, revealing a pale, lifeless face. Dark purple bag hung under its eyes. Its lips were a dark shade of bluish purple. Dark veins ran across his bald head in lightning-like patterns. Anyways, I'm Death, I'm here to take you to the underworld. Trust me, it's not as bad as it sounds. It's very nice down there. If you're not quite ready to go, I did bring chess with me if you just want to take this all in. Why would I want to play chess at a time like this? I don't know. Some people like to do that. I don't get it either, to be honest. Tex started crying. I can't die now. I gotta avenge my family. I've been searching and training for 20 years for this. I made a promise that I have to keep. Look, I know this isn't easy. Trust me, I do. I've been doing this for millions of years. I've had to take everything from dinosaurs to kings, man. No matter how much somebody thinks they're ready for this, they're not. At some point, we're going to have to go. Daddy needs to get paid. You get paid for this? Tex said quizzically. Duh, dude, it's my job. I have a family to feed, you know. You wouldn't believe the going rate for souls today. The Great Shittening was the greatest thing to happen to this industry. Back in Earth 1, Fun Under the Sun, which by the way is totally a bad name for that time, cause shit super sucked. Anyways, this place was so fucking overpopulated, souls weren't worth goddamn anything. When you have hundreds of thousands of people dying a day, nobody wants to pay anything. I was living in undead poverty, man. Now there's a fraction of the population left, and souls are finally back in high demand. The GRC, that's the Grim Reaper Coalition, by the way, is making it killing. Death explained with a little too much enthusiasm. I didn't realize dying was a business. Who pays for souls? Everything's a business, baby. A lot of the powerful undead feed off of souls. You'd be surprised. Well, I guess you're surprised anyways. That was kind of a stupid thing to say. The king of the underworld, Daniel, loves souls and misfortune. So do the 8 demon kings. Shit, dude. There's a whole world out here that you guys have no idea about. Anyways, we should really get going. No, I can't go. I'll refuse. I won't die until I avenge my family. I don't care what I'll have to do. First of all, you're already dead, in case you forgot. Second, I could be willing to cut you a deal. You see, Carmichael, Max, and Vance Explosion are 2 of the most anticipated souls. Pretty much all of the legendary weapons guys are, but they're the tops, Beb. If you can kill them, I'll be waiting by ready to take them before any of the other Grim Reapers can swoop in. We work off commission, you see, so if I can sell those motherfuckers, I'll be rich.
Damn, I love this lore so much.
And while they do create an unholy fuck ton of business for me, the price their souls will fetch is worth way more. Tyrannosaurus Tex perked up. Alright, let's do it then. I won't let you down, I swear. See now, there's a little bit of a catch. I can't just go letting anybody return to the world of the living so easily. You think you're the first person I've offered this to? Hell nah, dude. You're going to have to prove yourself. In a wrestling match. With, dramatic pause, me! Death exclaimed.
Oh shit.
Tyrannosaurus Tex looked at him puzzled. I've only lost a couple times in the entire history I've been doing this. I'm like 69,002. You ever heard of Ozzy Osbourne? That dude's fucking tough. The other catch is that if you don't succeed, I'm going to offer up your immortal soul to the head honcho demon king, Big Tommy, for you to be tortured for all eternity. I still gotta get paid somehow, you know, and he'll pay big bucks for a soul as strong as yours. I'll do it. I'm not scared, Tex replied. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention. Once you complete this for me, I'm still going to take your soul. So you're living on borrowed time, said Death very quickly.
Damn.
Wait, what? Yeah, sorry, dude, but you already agreed, and a pact with Death is binding. As soon as you agreed, it was already sent to the office of the GRC for approval. Tyrannosaurus Tex knew he couldn't argue because not only did he have no power here, he also didn't know all the inner workings of deals with death or the undead bureaucracy. Alright, guess I'm stuck then. Let's hurry up and beat cheeks. Dope. Then check this shit out. Death raised his arms to the sky and the ground started to rumble. A couple bone men cracked through the ground and pulled themselves out. Wrestlemasters, do my bidding. Create the most sickest ass wrestling ring for me, for this will be a battle of the ages. The Bone Men started doing this sick interpretive dance that was really cool but also oddly sexual. They swayed back and forth, gyrating their sexy calcium-rich hips while they clacked their teeth together. I wrote a note for myself to do that.
I like the sound effect.
A wrestling ring sprang up out of the ground, sending chunks of rock and debris flying all over the place. The ring looked sick as fuck. Instead of ropes, there were long chains of bones linked together. There were flaming skulls perched atop the bone poles at the corners. The floor of the ring was made out of the skin of tortured souls that dared to defy death and were constantly screaming in pain. The skirt of the ring was made of skeletons that were embedded into the cloth and shone with blue fire. It also had disgusting feet so it could walk around. "It's middle as fuck," Tyrannosaurus Tex said with wonder. "Dude, I know, right? Sometimes I do that just so I can watch." Death snapped his fingers and both of them were teleported to the inside of the ring. "Now before we begin," said Death as he held up both of his hands, he grabbed his long black cloak and ripped it in half, revealing that he was totally fucking ripped.
Skeleton.
No, he's a cold zombie dude.
Oh, right.
You can have bone titties.
Damn.
Haven't you seen skeletons with bone or boob bones?
Yeah, you're right.
Sure. Somehow his body had gotten even bigger after taking off the cloak, seemingly doubling in size. His muscle insertions were perfect in every way. His muscle bellies were big beyond the capability of any human. His fucking abs had their own six-packs. Shit was nuts, dude. Tyrannosaurus Tex was slightly intimidated, but he had been training his entire life to wrestle Vance Explosion. He'd fought countless of people and monsters alike. The Hydra of Zamorath, Big Hand the large ape with big hands, the Caveville Chimera, Billy the middle-aged man. He'd fucked them all, and he was going to fuck some more. "Let's fucking go!" he screamed. A bone man rang the skull bell and the two charged at each other. They grappled each other's muscular, sweat-drenched bodies. Tex won the first battle and threw Death to the ground. He stood behind him and picked him up, then suplexed Death over his back. Tex went for the early pin, knowing he had to catch Death off guard. "1, 2," cried the Death Fury. Death kicked out and sent Tex flying into the ropes. Good strategy, but I won't be that easy to defeat. Tex's body was feeling stiff. Death's body was so impossibly cold, so devoid of heat, that it was affecting his ability to move. He was freezing. Now Death was on the attack. He ran up to where Tex was laying after hitting the ropes and elbow dropped onto him. Tex cried out in pain. It was like his ribs were being shattered all over again. As he tried to get up, Death ran at him and grabbed him by the head. He face-busted Tex into the mat. Tex blacked out for a second, and as he came to, he heard, "2!" He was being pinned. He quickly kicked out, and Death knelt down with his head between his hands. Tex ran into the bone ropes and sprang back towards the now upright Death, and hit him with a clothesline turned cutter, and they both hit the mat hard.
Damn.
Tex climbed onto Death's back and put him into a camel clutch. "You think a shitty hold like this can hold Death? I never tap out." Death began to push back against Tex. The sound of bones cracking filled the air. Death was breaking his own back to get out of the hold.
Holy shit.
He grabbed onto Tex and slowly stood up. Death was contorted in the most disgusting way you'd ever seen. He power slammed Tex back down onto the mat. The match went on for hours, it seemed, but in the land of Death, time was stagnant. It was just a construct created by humans. Death was timeless. He was here before the humans, and he would be here long after. The two were surprisingly easily matched. Maybe Death was going a little easy on Tex, but maybe he didn't even notice. Death was having more fun than he'd had in millions of years. This was really the wrestling match of the century, maybe even of the eon. Back when Death had even had to wrestle the old gods during the great god wars of the First Age.
Damn.
Broken and beaten, Tex looked across the ring at Death. Tex could tell Death was tired, even though he wasn't breathing heavily. But Death doesn't have to breathe. Come to think of it, was Tex even breathing? He hadn't really thought of it up until this point. But since he was dead, there wasn't a need to breathe. Now's my chance. Oh shit. Now's my chance, Tex thought to himself. I can win this right here. Death did one of those bring it on hand waves from across the ring, and Tex ran straight at him. Death smiled slightly. "Take the bait, human. Good." He attempted to spear Tex as he was running towards him, but Tex saw it coming. He dodged slightly and grabbed Death by the neck with his arm. Tyrannosaurus Tex signature move number 5, Texas Stunner! And Tyrannosaurus Tex slammed Death into the ground and completely snapped his neck with his arm. Before Death could reattach his neck, Tex jumped on him for the pin. 1, 2, 3, screamed the Death Fury. The match was over. Tex had won. Death slowly got up with a huge grin on his face. That was incredible, dude. I was hoping for a good match, but that was better than anything I could have ever dreamed of. You've totally earned your place back in the land of the living. Don't worry, any damage you've sustained here will completely heal once you leave, and your completely mangled body will pull itself back together good as new. Defeating me, I also grant you with the blessing of death, TM, which will grant you special powers and wrestling moves that will be sure to aid you in your journey to find Vance Explosion. Also, I really want that money, so I gotta help how I can. You see, I can't directly kill people. I just show up after they die to guide them to the eternal suffering that is the afterlife, which is not as bad as it sounds, I swear. But yeah, that's why I need you to help. So get on out of here, you crazy motherfucker. May death grant mercy upon us all. Before Tex could say anything, Death's long-winded speech was over, and his consciousness was back in the realm of life. Crocky, that guy can talk. Tex watched from his 2 eyes that had been thrown in opposite directions across the ground where he'd died. His body slowly reassembled itself. Bones reanimated and put themselves back together. Organs rematerialized and were put back into the right places. Meat grew out of the bones, and flesh then grew out of the meat. Tyrannosaurus Tex was back. Many people watched this horrible sight, and some literally died on the spot. Others threw up vital organs all over the ground, also dying. Everyone else ran away screaming of the devil with awesome dinosaur feet. Get that bread there, mate. Tex laughed to himself, knowing Death was about to shepherd those poor bastards to the afterlife. Death looked out of his void at Tex and smiled. Thanks for that, man. You know a bitch gotta get paid. Alright, pussies, yelled Death out to his new souls. Welcome to hell. The end.
God damn.
Oh,
Damn, Ben, that was a solid story.
there wasn't as much humor in it as I'd hoped,
The
but
situation was just so good, though.
when you said you liked the absurd situations I put in my stories, I was like, I think Nick will like this one. Because this entire story is an absurd situation.
God damn, that was beautiful, Ben.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was intense.